Hi everyone, it's time to write our next heading for our informational books. I need to write the second heading for my informational book about squirrels. Remember, yesterday we wrote my heading Moving in the Trees, and we made it nice and bold because that's what we do with headings, so we know what we're writing about. And then we wrote this: Squirrels can climb trees very quickly. They can jump from branch to branch. Squirrels can jump 5 to 6 feet. All right, I've got another paper here. So we are ready to write our next heading. And I was thinking this time, I think we'll write about enemies, because I remember reading about the enemies that squirrels have. So I'm going to put enemies up here nice and bold again. Remember, you're writing this in your book. You don't need to put this on big paper like mine, but you have your little books, and you might want to do a page for each heading, just because we're going to be adding some pictures or diagrams later on in the week. All right, so enemies. So what are we going to say about squirrels and their enemies? Well, squirrels have enemies when they're on the ground, and squirrels have enemies when they're in the trees. So I think I'm going to write that sentence. Squirrels have, there's one of our words again, one of those sight words we're supposed to know. Have, have enemies. It's one of those words we can kind of stretch out. Squirrels have enemies on the ground. Stretch those words out. Help yourself spell. Squirrels have enemies on the ground and in remember 2 E's, say E, and in trees. Squirrels have enemies on the ground and in trees. All right, so let's write about who are their enemies when they're on the ground. Well, I remember when we were reading the book right here, it said that they run and leap quickly so that cats or foxes do not catch them. Well, I can't copy that because that wouldn't be right. Somebody else already wrote those words. But I can take that idea and I can put it into my book. So I'm going to take that idea about saying that cats and fox basically are enemies to a squirrel when they're on the ground. So I'm going to write the sentence that says cats and, another one of our sight word, foxes. We have to put that ES, cats and foxes. We're going to say are, A-R-E, some, because it's some of their enemies on the ground. So we're going to say cats and foxes are some of their enemies on, we know on, look at this you guys, we could spell all these words, the ground. We already wrote it, but look at, we're going to stretch out ground. We're going to put a period at the end. Squirrels have enemies on the ground and in trees. Cats and foxes are some of their enemies on the ground. Well, you know who their enemies are when they're in the trees? Birds. Yeah, birds are their enemies when they're in the trees. So I'm going to write in the tree. There's that double E again. In the trees, birds are, A-R-E, their enemies. So then I was wondering, because that was part of, it said that birds were their enemies. I was wondering what birds. So once again, I looked it up, and it said that owls and hawks are predators of them. So when they're in the trees, they have to watch out for those owls and hawks because they'll try to get the squirrel and take it away to eat them. So I'm going to write that. I'm going to say in the tree, birds are their enemies. Hawks. Look at that. A-W says hawks. And owls are their predator. Actually, predators in the trees. And what goes at the end? period, so we know our sentence is over. All right, well, let's read the whole thing and see how it sounds today. Squirrels have enemies on the ground and in the trees. Cats and foxes are some of their enemies on the ground. In the trees, birds are their enemies. Hawks and owls are their predators in the trees. Now, I wrote a little bit more. You can challenge yourself to write more. We would like to see, as first grade teachers, we'd love to see you writing at least 2 sentences underneath your heading. 3 or 4 would be really great. So, put yourself to try your best, stretch those words out. You can do it. Remember those sight words, use your word list. It was attached last week to your homework. So use that word list to help you out. You can also use the book that we just were using. Remember, I looked up my facts in here. And so use those facts. Just don't copy the sentences because that's somebody else's writing. We've got to do our own writing. So take those ideas, put them into your, under your heading, into your details, and tell people what you learned about squirrels or your other subject you're writing about. All right, we'll see you tomorrow.